Lilies of the Field by William E. Barrett. Chapter 5. The city was traffic-choked and noisy, and its lights were bright. The heat of summer rested on it like a cloud without rain. But a man could wet his throat with cold beer in the daytime and mingle with his own kind at night, eating and drinking whatever he found. He could listen to loud rhythmic sound from jukeboxes and dance with women and laugh at jokes. He could look into the eyes of women and see himself there, feeling pride in his manhood. He could stand big in his body with gray fog in his mind and hear his own blood running in his veins. He could go to the Baptist church on Sunday and sing hymns that his mother and his father sang before he was born, weeping a little because he had been a sinner all week. He could leave the church with all the sin washed out of him, feeling clean. Homer Smith loved all of it, the standing tall and the falling down. Most of all, he liked the speech of men and women like himself and the humor of them. A man heard no funny stories from people of another language who could not speak English well, and he could tell no funny stories. Humor belonged to the language that a man knew. He liked companionship in his room in the boarding house, and the bathroom down the hall where he could bathe in a tub instead of showering himself from a bucket. He liked the hard feel of the pavement under his feet, the odor of cooking food that floated out of strange windows and doorways, the children who were in constant motion around him. He liked the sirens of police, fire, and hospital vehicles, the bright exteriors of taverns, and the twilight dimness within. This was the city. The nuns in a town named Piedras and the Livingston Construction Company belonged to a hazy dream, as unreal as incidents in the life of another man. He never sat down deliberately to think about them, and such stray memories as floated in and out of his mind did not disturb him. His life in the army was gone too, to be recalled only through conscious effort, and not worth that. He lived in what he had, and with what he had, finding life good. His money ran low in 10 days, and he went to work for a wrecking company. His first job was with a crew that was wrecking a car barn no longer used by the tramway company. It was heavy, dirty, dangerous work, with much steel to handle and grime over everything. The next job, by comparison, was easy. A half block of houses had to come down to create a blank, which could be converted into a parking lot. They were small and old, low-rent houses, known in the South as row houses, but in the West as terraces, houses all alike, built together wall to wall. Everything that could be stripped by hand was stripped. Then a crane with a big metal ball knocked the walls down. The job took 3 days. On the third day, Homer was sorting through the salvage, stacking the theoretically usable doors, window frames, and fixtures. There were sinks, basins, 8 bathtubs. He piled the bathtubs, then stood looking at them, hearing in his mind a high, clear call as compelling as a coyote's cry to the moon. "Those girls need a bathtub," he said. It was the first time he had consciously thought about the nuns, and they were suddenly alive in his mind. He had seen them hauling buckets of water from the well in the evening, many buckets, and he had seen how crude everything was about the house. Gus Ritter, that old German farmer, had been a tight-fisted man. He didn't improve a place except where it paid him. The foreman was a big man, almost as big as Homer was. Homer sought him out. "How's to buy one of those tubs?" he said. "Sure enough. You want your own personal tub, boy? How much?" "You could steal it and nobody would care. That kind is no good. You got some way to haul it?" "Yes." "Okay, give me $2 to keep it honest." Homer gave him the $2. He saw the bills go into the foreman's pocket, and he knew that the company would never see those bills. That didn't matter. He'd bought what he wanted at the price asked. The bathtubs were high and narrow, standing on dragon feet. He picked the best one of them. It wouldn't go into the station wagon, so he upended it on the top, the feet pointing skyward, lashing it in place with a rope. The bathroom windows had been removed intact, small windows of red, yellow, and green glass in diamond pattern. He bought 2 of them from the foreman for $1 each, and with the purchase, a vision returned, haunting him. He drew his pay at the end of the day and headed for the hills. It was an afternoon on Friday when he drove into familiar territory. He stayed on the highway when it looped around North Fork. The crops were prospering under a bright sun. Potatoes, wheat, barley, lettuce, cauliflower. The hazy blue mountains were on his right. Within a few miles, the fields on his left became bleak, sage and greasewood, sprinkled with a few indomitable flowers of blue, yellow, and pink. A hawk floated low, gliding on motionless wings, and a rabbit scurried across the road. Homer drove over a small bridge, and the stream below it was a thin trickle. He turned to his right on a rutted road, and the nuns were in the field, working on their variegated crop, fighting for their growing stuff against weeds and voracious insects and the parched dryness of the soil. It was good to see them again, but he did not slow down nor look in their direction. He was not certain of his reception, and he was willing to defer it. He parked in his accustomed spot and sat looking at his unfinished church. Nobody had disturbed it, and no one had brought bricks with which to complete it. It had a desolate look, one wall built as high as a man's shoulder, the others low. The chimney pointing upward like the skeleton finger of a giant. There was an untidy scattering of rubble on the ground. Homer got the scoop shovel from the barn tool room and started shoveling. He cleared the area and dug a hole with his spade into which he tumbled the debris. The bell rang, and he straightened. Old Mother never rang the bell for the nuns because they knew when to come for meals. That bell was for him. He laid the spade aside, carried his bucket to the well, washed his hands, and walked into the house. They were waiting for him, standing in their places at the table, just as if he had never been away. He bowed his head while they prayed. When he looked up after the amen, they were all looking at him happily. Nobody said anything, but they were glad that he was home. A man felt a thing like that. Nobody had to say anything. There was an omelet and coarse bread, but there were vegetables too, fresh vegetables. The farm was starting to pay off. They resumed the English lessons after supper, and Homer's ear was sharper because he had been away. They were doing better with the language, but he could hear the soft echo of South Carolina coming back to him when they spoke. Better than a phonograph accent, he thought. Used to be you could hear the turntable going around when they spoke anything in English. He did not unveil the bathtub until after breakfast the next day. He drove the station wagon close to the house and eased the tub down from the top. He called Old Mother out to see it. Sisters Gertrude and Albertine came with her. He made an awkward gesture toward the tub, not naming it. After all, these were girls who built a high fence around the privy. "A present," he said. He was facing Mother Maria Martha. Her eyes squinted as though she found the sun too bright. "Das is gut, Schmidt," she said. "Das is gut." She said something in German to the 2 nuns and went hurriedly into the house. Homer did not have to explain to her that he needed a place in which to install the tub. When she returned, she led him to a pantry off the kitchen. This was the deepest penetration that he had made into the nuns' quarters. He had not even known that the pantry existed. "Here," she said. It was a small room, but that was her problem. He hauled the tub in and set it on its feet. He had taken some pipe as a necessary accessory to the tub, and he had brought a second-hand blowtorch in the city. He cut a hole in the floor where it met the wall and angled the pipe through it, attaching it to the drain pipe of the tub and soldering it in place. He put the rubber plug in the drain, and the tub was in business. He dug a trench outside the house to run the water off. They would still have to haul water because he couldn't give them a pump and a plumbing job. But this was something. He felt good about it. He still lacked bricks, so he settled down to carpentry, making pews and kneelers like those in the church at Piedras. He lacked a lathe, and he had to work with what he had. So the pews were mere benches without polish or curlicues, but he built them solidly, and the day passed swiftly. "Old Mother's got to pray me some bricks," he said softly. "If she doesn't, she's wasting my time." He sat at the counter in Piedras while the nuns were at Mass on Sunday. He ordered his big breakfast. The sad-looking man broke eggs into the skillet and surrounded them with bacon. "It is not reasonable that you have come back," he said. "Makes sense to me." "It could not. Everybody says that you are gone, and this is how it is to be. They laugh at the nuns because the nuns say that you will return." Homer's body stiffened. "I don't want to see nobody laughing at those nuns." "This they know." The man cast a wary eye at his big customer. "Now, nobody will laugh." "No, that's right. Nobody's going to laugh. The padre says to them that you will return." "How did he know?" "That Mother Superior, she told him." "How did she know?" "She knew." Homer drank his coffee, savoring the fine aroma of bacon. He had not known himself that he would ever come back. He had not given it a thought. How could old Mother know? He had a dark suspicion that had something to do with her praying. She had never got it out of her head that God had given Homer Smith to her. If that was a fact, she'd be certain that he couldn't wander off. He belonged to her. That was something Homer had never liked. The idea of belonging to someone stirred a racial antagonism in him. No Negro was ever going to belong to anybody again. Not ever. He was free. The breakfast was good, and he ate it. The idea of freedom moved around in his mind while he ate, not moving in a worrisome way, merely in a curious manner. It was a strange thing, freedom. He had been free in the city. Nobody told him to do anything. He kept his own hours, ate when he wanted to eat, slept as late as he liked. Here, old Mother was always ringing bells or yelling "Schmidt!" or telling him to do something. She exploded inside of herself if he didn't get up at bird waking time. She was so certain about owning him that she never said thank you for anything. Not one time had she said thank you. "The padre, that Father Gomez, he will be very happy that you have come back to those nuns," the man behind the counter said. "Why should he be happy?" "He will say that it proves a religious thing." "What religious thing?" "Faith. It is a word for what is unreasonable. If a man believes in an unreasonable thing, that is faith. It is not reasonable that you should come back to this place and work for nothing. Nobody believed it. You have come back." Homer ate contentedly. That was an interesting idea. He liked interesting ideas. Faith was what old Mother had. She believed that he would come back. She believed that he could build a church all by himself, maybe even without bricks. That wasn't a reasonable idea. He hadn't ever built anything all by himself. He was free, building that church, just as free as he was in the city, even more so. There wasn't anybody else to build it. He didn't need any wages. He had a full life. He had many things. He was free like the lilies of the field. It was a strange thing. As the Spanish man said, it wasn't reasonable. "Me?" the man said. "I have no faith. I do not believe in the church. I do not go to the Mass." Homer looked at him with interest. "I don't know what that does for you," he said. "All those other Spanish are in there, sitting on those benches or doing whatever they do at Mass, not working. You're over here, working, fixing my breakfast. It is reasonable. You pay me. I make money. I never saw another customer in here during the Mass. Unless you get a hungry Baptist in your place, you don't make money. So, I sit here and do nothing. It is a reasonable thing. No priest tells me what to do. The first stragglers were coming out of the church. Homer rose and paid for his breakfast. The man behind the counter baffled him in a mild way, but he was not interested in him. The man could stay just as he was, where he was, being reasonable. If the man ever got faith, Sunday was going to be a hungry day in Pietras. The nuns, as usual, were the last ones out of the church. Homer amused himself, looking big and dangerous beside the station wagon, frowning at all of these people who had laughed at his nuns, seeing them turn quickly away from him. He did not frown at Father Gomez, who came out with Old Mother. The priest was smiling, and he extended his hand. "It is nice to see you again," he said. "I believe that you will have a surprise or two this week, Signor Smith." He turned his head. "Don't you agree, Mother Superior?" Mother Maria Martha either understood or sensed what he was saying. She nodded, and amazingly, for the first time since Homer Smith had known her, she smiled. "Ja," she said. The surprise was not long in developing. Early Monday morning, vehicles of various types and ages arrived at Homer's working area. Each vehicle brought adobe bricks, and each driver had approximately the same speech. "I am happy to bring these bricks for the chapel. I have had in my heart a doubt of you, and I am sorry." After his astonishment at the first two versions of the speech, Homer adjusted cheerfully to the situation. Old Padre must have preached hell to these Spanish, he thought. Wish I could have heard it. The bricks piled up, and he went to work again. The day climaxed with the beer truck and the largest donation of the day, 500 bricks. The driver, a wide-shouldered, husky, embarrassed man, made the set approach. His companion, the sad man from the cafe, spat at a grasshopper, missing him. "I have only come to see this thing," he said. "I have brought no bricks." Homer shrugged. It made no difference. This man probably did not believe in bricks. It was not reasonable that all of these bricks should be here, so they were not. The broad-shouldered man laughed. Now that he had made his speech, he was no longer embarrassed. He slapped his companion on the back and walked around the partially built chapel, shaking his head. "You do not know well the adobe," he said. "I'm learning." "You should have help." Homer resented him, and he was glad to see him go. A shadow had fallen on his church, which everyone else called a chapel. Now that these Spanish were bringing bricks, they were going to tell him what to do and how to do it. That could not be. He had to finish it as he had begun it. It was his church. For the first time since he started work on the project, he worried. Mother Maria Martha added to his worry. She walked around his bricks, making clucking noises like a hen that has just laid something, owning his bricks as she owned him, acting like she'd prayed them into existence. "If I hadn't come back, there wouldn't be no bricks," he thought sullenly. Old Mother was oblivious. "Schmidt," she said, "these people will help you. All is well." "I don't want any help." His mind was set on that point, and when helpful neighbors came to watch and make suggestions, he was curtly hostile. They brought no brick on Tuesday or on Wednesday, but men with time to spare from whatever they did normally came in person. Some of them wanted to lay bricks, and all of them were mouth experts telling him what he should do. They were very friendly about it. When he wouldn't let them work, they sat and smoked, watching him and sometimes shaking their heads, making remarks to one another in Spanish. They ain't commenting on how good I'm doing neither, he thought. Thursday bothered him. He did not know whether he would still have a job with Livingston Construction Company, and he was reluctant to leave his own job unguarded. There wasn't any sense in telling Old Mother to chase these Spanish because she liked the idea of having them do some of the work. She didn't understand how he felt about it. All that she cared about was getting her chapel church built. She didn't care who built it. Homer made 2 signs and placed them conspicuously on his walls. One read, "Keep off," and the other was equally uncompromising, "Don't touch anything." He drove off then to North Fork. Orville Livingston's eyebrows moved upward and his jaw moved forward when he saw Homer Smith. "Where have you been?" he said. "Vacation." "Yeah? Why did you come back?" "I had to finish my church." "Are you going to finish it?" "I'll finish it. Right now I'm gaining on my brick." "Huh. Well, they ought to read you out of the Baptist church, but I'm glad you're back. I'm short-handed." Homer went out on the road gang, and Livingston had not exaggerated his short-handedness. The work was heavy. Thursday night, Homer checked his church, and no one had disturbed it. Friday night, with his 2 days' pay, he loaded up on groceries, enjoying the adventure of pushing his cart through the supermarket again and selecting what he wanted. When he reached home and presented his sacks to Old Mother, she shook her head at him. "Nein, Schmidt," she said. "No more." She showed him vegetables in jars which the nuns had canned for winter eating, fresh vegetables ready for the table, an entire new generation of chickens in the fowl run ready to be thinned out. He had been blind to all that. He experienced an odd twinge of disappointment. "That's fine," he said. "That's just fine." He had never been vitally interested in what the nuns did or how. He knew that they worked hard, and that was all that he cared to know. Now they had something to show for their work. They didn't need his groceries anymore. He walked across the clearing to his church. The Spanish had been interfering in his absence. They had built a big mortar box with some of his old lumber. He sat and smoked, taking counsel with himself. There was a way of spreading adobe on the outside of the brick and smoothing it out, a little like stone. He had studied the church in Piedras, and he believed that he knew how it was done, but he had never seen anyone do it. These Spanish planned to do it for his church. That's why they built that box to do their puddling. He resented any and every hand laid on that church other than his own. But he told himself that this was a practical matter and that the Spanish knew how to do this work. "No sense in me getting sore," he said. Some untangible thing, some joyful spirit had gone out of his life, and he tried to call it back. He sang as he laid brick on Saturday, and he was friendly to the Spanish people who came out to watch him, so friendly that he surprised them. They got in his way, trying to help him. No one attempted to mix adobe clay. Everyone wanted to help lay brick. "No," he said. "I got my ideas. I got to do it my way." "Como?" "There is only one way to lay brick." They did not understand his attitude, and he had taken a positive stand at an awkward time. He had reached the point in one wall that called for the installation of a window, high up and placed, as in the church at Piedras, so that light would fall on the altar. He had the window intact in its frame, a small window that need never be opened. It was not easy to set it properly in place with the bricks holding it firm. He had measured his space carefully, but he had difficulty when he tried to set it. A short, thin man named Juan Archuleta joined him on his working platform. "It is a matter of aggravation, this," Juan Archuleta said. "I have done it." He broke a brick deftly, scarcely seeming to glance at it, but breaking it to the exact size that he wanted. He wedged pieces into place and he spread his adobe mortar. He knew how to set a window, and Homer grudgingly admitted it. The little man took no credit for what he did and made no point of it. He talked as he worked. "I like how you sing," he said. "A man works better singing. See, singing is good. You like guitar?" "Got one of my own." "Bueno. You come to my house tonight for the dinner? Drink a little, sing a little, play the guitar." "Sounds good." A man couldn't say hostile to another man who helped him work and who invited him to dinner. "I have worked much with adobe," Juan Archuleta said. "It is the stuff of this country." He helped Homer with the twin window on the other side, and he backed him up in telling the other men that 2 workers on the bricks were enough. Without making a point of it, he worked over a couple of trouble spots where the wall met the chimney and enclosed the fireplace. "You work smooth," Homer said grudgingly. "A little work, de nada. You have worked much. I could not do so much. I'm not a strong man." Homer shook his head. This Juan Archuleta was easy to like, man with honey on his tongue. He met Juan's wife and his children and his neighbors. He drank white liquor that he could feel in the roots of his hair like electricity, and he sang songs for his new friends. He ate food that was hotter than the liquor but strangely satisfying, and he listened to songs that he had never heard before in a language that he did not understand. "Adiós, Mariquita linda. Yo me voy, porque tú ya no me quieres, como yo te quiero a ti." He admired it. It had sadness but no misery. He could pick it up on the guitar and play along with it, but he could not sing it as he sang Latin with the nuns. This language did not break down to sounds that he could carry in his head or shape with his mouth. On the faster, more cheerful music, it was easier. He could make a lot of the ya, ya, ya sounds that were almost Spanish, even if they didn't mean anything. Homer did not know when the party ended. It tapered off slowly. He rode home in Juan Archuleta's old car singing. There was a silvery whiteness over the land, a chill in the air. He chuckled foolishly as he stood beside his station wagon watching Juan drive away. A dozen impressions of the evening whirled around in his mind, but the one that rose to the surface was inconsequential. "Those Spanish have a way with beans," he said. "Make them taste like food."